we talked a little bit about investigations involving the city of Albuquerque as state auditor. What do you recall about the investigation your office did of Ray Schultz and the city's contract with Taser?
So I remember this one. What was interesting is I knew a little bit about Taser because I had read, somebody gave me an article about Taser in other cities and how they were getting in trouble for sending elected officials, or not elected officials, police chiefs, maybe actually elected officials too, to like these sort of junket conferences. And they always had, some ridiculous like D-list music act. And I remember the article, there were like pictures of some police chief like dancing to like Biz Marquee or something. And I remember that because it was a little bit interesting. And then this sort of came up about Taser. And so I remember my first reaction being like, oh, I wonder if they were going on these trips to like Phoenix or Scottsdale or something. And then also at the time, I mean, in the auditor's office, you have a lot of people giving you information, lots of people. You've got this fraud hotline. You have people calling you, and they're just saying like so-and-so did X, so-and-so did Y. And you have a giant rumor mill like coming at you. And so Taser kind of popped up because when you sort through all of that and try and figure out what's real and what's not, you have to kind of triangulate, okay, well, I heard this is an issue in other cities. Now I'm hearing about it in Albuquerque. And then we had been doing some work on procurement at the state level, so I knew a little bit about procurement and sort of how that worked. And the issues that were coming through with Taser in Albuquerque were also about something about how it was procured, that contract, and whether it was competitive and things like this. And so to me, when I put all those things together, I said, we should probably initiate an investigation on it. And so I also I never knew Chief Schultz. I had probably like shaken his hand a few times. And I did know that, there seemed to be just this general theme in Albuquerque that, people weren't really focused on everyday operations in the police department. It was either, issues with shootings in the CASA or even before the CASA, or it was lots of internal drama. I mean, I think the police department was very unstable, and we could certainly feel that, I think, as New Mexicans. And so I wanted to understand sort of what was going on and what people were prioritizing. And it seemed like this Taser contract was getting an extraordinary amount of attention from executives and things of this nature that just didn't seem appropriate.
Did you make any conclusions that there have been some improper conduct by City of Albuquerque officials involving the contract with Taser?
So this is where I would certainly reference the actual audit itself. And so off the top of my head, I remember there were serious concerns. I also remember in audit world, there are like important words that matter. So I do not remember explicitly, whether it was deep concern, heavy concern, likely fraud, or, I don't remember exactly what that was. I do remember that you have to be very careful about those terms. So I'm also going to be careful about them now because I don't remember exactly what it was. But I do remember we confirmed serious issues or something to that effect, that there had been shenanigans, let's call it, with respect to those Taser dealings. And I do also remember forwarding it for possible criminal investigation to the AG's office, and maybe to some other local. I don't know, hold on, let me finish. You did the whole interruption thing. So I also remember forwarding it. I think maybe we forwarded it to other entities as well. It could have been the feds, could have been other legal bodies.
Who was the AG at the time?
It would have been Hector Balderas.
Do you recall having any conversations with him about, these quote-unquote concerns?
Hector and I would talk, so not specifically, no, but in general, Hector and I would talk time to time, usually about appropriate paths for an investigation. Hector was a lawyer, is a lawyer, and he also was the state auditor. So I would often ask him for sort of, okay, I have this Taser investigation, for example, like what should I do with it? And I, would say, like, we probably should forward it to your office, but do you think it might be better to forward it to the feds? Those are kinds of conversations we would have. And so I'm sure we had those about Taser.
Regarding AP's former chief, Ray Schultz, do you remember a comment he made about greasing the contract?
Now that you mention it, yes. I think that comment was I'm not sure where that comment came from. Like, he didn't say it to me, but I remember hearing about that comment.